Welcome to another Red Hunt video. Story 1. Am I the antagonist for not forcing my son to rename his hamster? To begin, my son is 11 years old and has been persistently asking for a family pet for some time now. After careful consideration, I finally agreed when I believed that we were prepared for the responsibility it entails, and that he was ready to take on such a responsibility. While I initially anticipated getting a dog or cat, he had his heart set on having a hamster. We spent over a week making preparations, engaging in what he referred to as studying hamster care. We even allocated a significant space in our living room for all the necessary items in the hamster's habitat. Eventually, we made our way to the pet shop to choose one. He was determined to name it Sonic, but the cashier informed us that the one he selected was a girl. She offered to find a boy hamster for him, but he immediately brightened up and decided to name her Amy. With that, we brought Amy home, and this took place back in March. Around the same time, my sister-in-law discovered she was pregnant, and just last month they learned they were expecting a girl. As they were narrowing down names, one of the contenders happened to include Amy as the middle name. I attempted a light-hearted joke, saying something along the lines of "We've already got an Amy at our place," with the intention of being humorous. However, my sister-in-law did not find it amusing. While I didn't dwell on it then, a few days ago she reached out and requested to have a conversation. She began by stating that my joke was in poor taste, and I promptly apologized. She then proposed that I change the hamster's name. I expressed reservations about this, believing my son would not react positively, and she outright insisted that the name be changed, asserting that it should happen whether he agrees or not, because she didn't want her child sharing a name with a hamster. I agreed to discuss it with my son to understand his perspective. Predictably, he wasn't keen on the idea. In fact, he thought it was kind of cool that his cousin might share a name with his hamster. I even tried suggesting he rename her Sonic or after another character from Sonic, but he remained attached to the name Amy. I discussed sister-in-law's feelings with him, and he felt a bit hurt, because he thought he had upset her, even though he didn't want to change the name, and was confused about why they couldn't both share the name. I conveyed to sister-in-law that my son was firmly set on the name Amy. She reacted strongly to this, and I admit my response was defensive and less than ideal. I essentially conveyed that it wasn't a major issue, as most people wouldn't make the connection, and by the time her child was old enough to be aware of her name, Amy the hamster would likely no longer be with us. She argued that it was awkward for her, since she would always associate the name with a hamster. In response, I suggested that if the name reminded her so strongly of a hamster, perhaps it wasn't a suitable choice for her daughter. My brother believes I'm being selfish for not insisting my son select a different name. Sister-in-law clearly sees me as in the wrong, and my mother deems the situation childish. So, I'm left wondering, am I the one in the wrong here? Your response to your sister-in-law, highlighting that the connection might fade with time, is reasonable. Ultimately, the association might not be as strong in the future as it is now. Your suggestion that she reconsider the name if it causes her discomfort is also valid, as baby names should carry positive connotations. Your brother's perspective might be influenced by his allegiance to your sister-in-law, but it's important to prioritize the feelings and attachment of your son, who has a genuine bond with the hamster. It's quite amusing that she's adamant about naming her child Amy, despite already linking the name to a hamster. That connection is likely to stay with her indefinitely, if she goes through with that name choice. Fast forward a few decades, and whenever she mentions her kid's name, she'll probably involuntarily conjure up an image of a hamster in H. My mom has said the whole thing is childish, because it is. Additionally, you're definitely not the asshole, not the antagonist. Seems the name Sonic is available. Suggest she call the baby that. Story 2. Am I the antagonist for not moving out of the property my parents gave me, so that my golden child sister, her husband and kid could move in? My sister was the first of the 4 siblings to have a child, 5. Unfortunately, my niece has been heavily spoiled by my sister, my parents, and the extended family. This situation has led to my parents catering to my sister's every request, even going so far as to cancel their anniversary trip in favor of babysitting, while she enjoys a girls' weekend. This spring, I experienced significant personal challenges as my boyfriend, who was a significant presence in my life, passed away. Around the same time, I lost my job and decided to return to my hometown. Fortunately, my parents own a rural property that was previously rented out. They generously offered me a rent-free stay there for as long as needed. I put a lot of effort and resources into renovating the property, also finding remote work in the process. During this time, I befriended Olha, a Ukrainian refugee with a young daughter, and invited her to stay with me temporarily to provide mutual support. Recently, some dramatic events occurred involving my sister's family. Due to my brother-in-law's involvement with a shady company, they were compelled to relocate abruptly to our hometown and moved in with my parents. Immediately, they suggested that I swap residences with them, arguing that my current home was too large for one person, and that it would be more suitable for my niece to live in a natural, beautiful environment. I found this request confusing, as my parents' house has ample guest rooms, and my sister's family has their own bedrooms as well. Additionally, my brother-in-law's financial situation is stable, making it possible for them to secure their own place. Despite these points, my parents dismissed my investment in the property's improvement and expressed outrage at my continued commitment to helping Olha and her child. My parents eventually resorted to asserting their ownership of the property and demanding my compliance with their wishes. I reminded them of their earlier statement that this house was mine for as long as needed. I even suggested that if they wished to treat this as a property matter rather than a family one, they could choose to evict me. Although my parents have not proceeded with eviction, I am now subjected to daily calls and messages from them and other family members, who guilt-trip me and label me as selfish for not yielding the more comfortable living space to my sister and her child. Only my brothers seem to understand my perspective, but their opinions are dismissed due to their young age and status as college students. In this situation, I can't help but feel misunderstood and isolated. Am I in the wrong? Your parents' change of stance and their attempts to guilt-trip you are not fair. It's important to stand up for your boundaries and the commitments that have been made. Your feelings of being misunderstood and isolated are valid, but remember that your perspective is reasonable and deserving of respect. It's great that your brothers understand your point of view. Sometimes, age and status don't determine the validity of an opinion. If your parents are open to it, having a calm and honest conversation about your feelings and the reasons behind your decisions might help bridge the gap. Ultimately, you deserve to live in a space that you've worked hard to improve and where you've found a sense of belonging. I genuinely find it perplexing how so many responses here are negative. Are people overlooking the fact that the op is currently mourning a very recent loss? It's not as if she has been staying there for years. In reality, it's been less than 6 months. She's only just started settling in and trying to recover from her grief. While it's reasonable for them to establish a timeline if her sister hasn't found a solution in a few months, it's undeniably disrespectful to push her out at this point. And seriously, who in the world buys a new car when they're unemployed? To me, it seems like her sister assumed she'd get this house for free as soon as she knew about it. The constant emphasis on the legal aspect is getting on my nerves. We're not offering legal advice here. It's more about assessing whether you're being a jerk, which you're not. Legally, you might not have a solid case, but the fact remains that your parents are reneging on their promise. It's completely acceptable and human to resist when they suddenly threaten to take away the place you call home. Because, well, if you live there, it is your home. You Americans often seem distant. Everything must hold legal weight for recognition, it seems. Yet, sometimes a family member's promise carries significance even without legal backing. In this situation, she's definitely not the asshole. Her parents made her a promise, a commitment that isn't legally binding, but still holds weight. It's only natural for her to feel hurt by this breach of trust. Admittedly, her perspective might be seen as naive, but isn't it proving valid in this case? They aren't forcing her out of the house. Thus, her resistance seems justified. She mentioned her brother-in-law's financial capability to secure a new house. If that's the case, why hasn't he fulfilled that commitment? Instead, they're frivolously spending money while she faces the consequences. Her stance isn't at fault here.